Hello there. Now, some of the older subscribers of the channel will remember that about 2 years ago now, I uploaded a video defending the Star Wars prequels, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, specifically, to some disgust, I'm sure. That's right, I'm a prequel enjoyer. It was a big part of my childhood, but anyway, it's time to somewhat revise that MO, as we're going to be taking a slightly more cynical look at the increasingly questionable world of Star Wars, in the form of this year's release, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now don't worry, I'm well aware that I'm somewhat late to this little tea party, but it was only the other day that I finally got around to watching the last 2 episodes of Obi-Wan. I had originally begun watching, rather excitedly, I will add, upon its release date. When I heard that Aiden Christensen and Ewan McGregor were coming back together to reprise their famous roles as Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, I was genuinely filled with a sense of optimism that I have not felt since primary school. Ever since Miss Garrett said that, of course, I can become a rock star and an astronaut at the same time. That's a perfectly feasible thing. That lying goddamn bitch. She's dead now, so there we go. Well aware that Star Wars fans can occasionally be quite scathing, I avoided any reviews or opinions of this show before I watched it. I went in wearing a glistening pair of brand new rose-tinted glasses. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? What are they going to do? They're going to mention midichlorians again? No. Oh, it was much worse than that. Oh, God. Goodness, it was terrible. Anyway, Really? Now is when my neighbour decides to pull out his power tools. You goddamn bitch! Put them away! I am trying to record a video. Will you shut the swine? What's he doing with a power drill at this time? As each episode went by, my hyperbolic and childlike smile would begin to sink ever deeper into a grimacing frown, reaching so deep, in fact, at one point that Gaddafi would have struggled to have hidden within it. But there we are. I eventually ended up abandoning the series altogether. That was until the other day. Now, this might sound somewhat pathetic, I'm well aware of that, but I found this show to be genuinely upsetting. Genuinely upsetting. The sheer amount of wasted potential would eventually invite me to reach the conclusion that Obi-Wan Kenobi is a heartbreaking failure. So, let's take a look at why, shall we? But first, a quick word from our sponsor, Your Mother. That's right, Your Mother sponsors this video. Make sure to say thank you to her next time you see her. And make sure to use code Guardian at checkout for 69% off. Back to the video. Starting with the premise, and when I heard where in the Star Wars timeline this would be taking place, I thought, that's kind of cool. I like that. Obviously we know that Obi-Wan has been looking over Luke for all of these years, but we don't know exactly what that entails. Maybe unbeknownst to Luke and the Lars family, Obi-Wan had been protecting them from various threats, acting as a cave-dwelling guardian angel of sorts. It was a nice area that they had to work with. They could work within a part of the timeline without it needlessly leaking too much into the overarching canon established by the films. It could have been a standalone, whilst also being a part of the bigger Star Wars story. Like I said, when I saw the announcement, I thought, oh great, this is going to be like the escapades of Obi-Wan and young Luke on Tatooine, featuring Darth Vader somehow. I didn't know how that was going to be incorporated, but then I found that Luke wouldn't really be playing a part in this at all, and it would in fact be Leia playing a pivotal role in the show. And when I found that out, I was like, okay, cool. How's that going to work? And the answer was quite clumsily, actually. As within the very first episode, Obi-Wan ditches the one job he has. That's right, he literally had one job to do. But that guy pieced out quicker than a black character in an early 2000s horror film. So, Senator Organa convinces Obi-Wan to ditch Luke in order to help Leia. And here's a scene-accurate recreation of just how that went down. Please help? No. Please help? No. Please help? No. But I said please. Still no. What if I come to your house? No. Please? What are you doing at my house? Please help? No. Please? Okay. And scene. There we go. I won't be turning up to the award show, but if you could send my Oscar through the post, that would be most appreciated. So Obi-Wan has been convinced that this is the child that he's looking for, and so he's got to go and save Leia from the evil clutches of the bass player from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I'm not afraid of you.
Give it time.
That's right. If you didn't know, Flea is in this. I was half expecting him to bust out into some bombastic intergalactic bass solo, but you can't have it all, can you? And then we have the pleasure of actually meeting Leia, who's a strong, independent toddler who don't need no doll's house. And she's also friends with a levitating gaming mouse from 2003. Now, the kid who plays Leia is brilliant. I mean, she's like 6 or something. Like, when I was that age, I was still learning where to poop and being told not to stick my dick in a vacuum cleaner. I mean, she plays absolutely no part in why this show sucked whatsoever. However, it would appear that Star Wars has taken a leaf out of Marvel's book, hitting us with a classic bait and switch, as this isn't necessary. I don't know if I'd call this Obi-Wan. I'd call this the Obi-Wan and Leia show, but there we go. We've seen it with the likes of Hawkeye, Loki, Multiverse of Madness, Moon Knight. The list, very much like a galaxy far, far away, is ever expanding. Yeah, that's right. This is actually just Daddy Daycare in space, featuring fan favorite scenes such as Obi-Wan chases Leia. Obi-Wan catches Leia.
Oh, no, 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 no.
And who could forget Obi-Wan hides Leia? That's a real scene in a Star Wars show. When Adventure Time does it, it's cute.
Yes, the charismatic stranger from last night. Also, the Grand Master of the Gnomes.
When Eric Andre does it, it's funny.
I'm going to buy a car today.
When Star Wars does it.
What are you, retarded?
Remember in A New Hope, when Han and Luke struggled to pass off as stormtroopers even when they were wearing the full kit and it ends up in a shootout? How on earth can Obi-Wan pull this shit in a hangar full of stormtroopers? Not just 1 or 2, there's hundreds of people inside. Not one. Bring Jar Jar Binks back. Just bring him back. I miss him at this point. Another thing that rubbed me the wrong way about this show is when I found out that they'd replaced James Earl Jones. If you don't know, James Earl Jones is the iconic voice of Darth Vader. And that's right, they'd replaced him with an AI that could simulate his voice. Now, I remember articles at the time when this show released, sort of trying to just sweep this under the rug and justify this, saying, James, he's really old now, and remember, his vocal performance in Rogue One wasn't that good. And I mean, fair enough, he is old, he's in his 90s at this point, but he can still talk. And some would argue that his vocal performance in Rogue One was as a result of the direction telling him to speak quicker than Vader typically would, rather than his age. And, I can't speak on behalf of all Star Wars fans, but me, myself, I would any day, I'd rather hear James Earl Jones do the real Vader voice himself, even if it doesn't quite sound like the original, any day, over some AI. That's just completely taken the soul out of it. And I mean, maybe, it might be as well to avoid actually paying James Earl Jones, because obviously when they acquired Star Wars, they possibly acquired the rights to the Darth Vader voice in some way. I don't know, but I didn't like that choice myself. I don't know, maybe you feel differently. Another problem a lot of people had with the show, myself and my 2 mates that I watched this with included, we all came to the conclusion that Reva wasn't a particularly convincing villain. She wasn't terrible, but she just wasn't convincing. She often just sounded like a child having a tantrum.
Can't find Obi-Wan! You can't escape him! We will find you!
Yeah, it just didn't land, unfortunately. And then obviously, Disney Star Wars then propped up Moses Ingram, the actor of Reva, as kind of like a shield to deflect a lot of the criticism leveled at the show at the time. And in terms of Reva, this show suffers from, the Hollywood morality bug that we're seeing so often these days. They are so incompetent at writing characters. Quality of writing in general has just taken such a nosedive in recent years. And as a result, we end up with these vile, evil characters that commit heinous acts, and they turn around and try and tell us that these people are actually, no, you're wrong, they're not bad, they're just strong, they're just misunderstood, they're redeemable. And it's just absurd. Side note, Shuttlecock R2-D2. Not a joke, just more of a statement, really. Another thing that really bothered me about this show that I've not heard anyone mention so far is just how noisy some of the scenes are. And when I say noisy, I don't mean in terms of volume, I mean in terms of picture. If you don't know, when you're shooting in a dark environment, you need to increase the camera's sensitivity to light in order to actually capture an image that you can see. So this means turning up the ISO. This compensates for the lack of light. And if you're shooting in a particularly dark environment, you need to really crank it up. But when you do that, that can introduce what's called noise into the image, which basically just means it becomes very grainy. Check out this clip, and even if you don't know anything about photography, nothing about filming, nothing about exposure, you're still gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. We are approaching like deep fried meme levels of grain in these images. They are insanely noisy and at times out of focus, but check it out. They just needed more light in the scene. And it's clearly not a creative decision, because sometimes it can be. Sometimes you might want to add noise into your image. If used correctly, it can add, a nice charm, particularly if you want footage to appear vintage or old, particularly if you're doing like a scene like a flashback or something like that. But they are cutting, particularly in this scene here, they're cutting between scenes within this bunker, and all of the live action shots have noise and all of the CG shots don't. So it's not consistent. It's clearly not, some sort of artistic decision they've made. But, they were probably pressed for time. This isn't something that necessarily warrants reshooting. But when you notice it, it's so bad at times. And this is not something you'd expect from a production of this magnitude. And then, of course, one of the most disappointing aspects of this show, Darth Vader, or rather Darth Vader's conflict with Obi-Wan, finally bringing these two characters back together. For the first time since the end of Revenge of the Sith, this could have easily been one of the best lightsaber duels in any Star Wars film. This could have been one of the best scenes in any Star Wars production, but it came out and it is unquestionably one of the worst. Probably is the worst, actually. Particularly in terms of potential and, final payoff. Now, this first encounter happens in episode 3, which in my opinion is easily the worst episode of the entire season. You've got Dum Dum Kenobi.
They know what they're doing, Leia.
I thought her name was Lumba.
The impenetrable guard post that no one could possibly walk around. Peekaboo Reva, who just pops up wherever the plot needs it to be. And then, of course, the disastrous Darth Vader Obi-Wan fight. The way Darth Vader just pops up out of nowhere, even though there's no cover around, how did Obi-Wan not spot him, even though he was running in that very direction? And finally, after almost 20 years, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi come face to face again for the first time since Revenge of the Sith. Darth Vader whips out his lightsaber, and what does the iconic Obi-Wan Kenobi do? They say don't meet your heroes, and this is like meeting your hero and finding out that their favourite pastime is punching babies in the face. But wait, he's finally got his lightsaber out, and he's actually going to stand and fight.
I am what you made me.
Bravely ran away.
I didn't.
Or not. And I know a lot of you will say, well, what did you expect, Jonny? This is par for the course with, modern Disney Star Wars. Yeah, fair enough. But I was genuinely so excited to watch this. I had genuine optimism. I was so unbelievably excited because, like I say, I'm a fan of the prequels, and this was going to be like a little, a little outro to that, and it is what it is, man. Now, I got into Star Wars because of my father. He went to see the original trilogy back in the cinema when they released, when he was a kid, and then when the prequels came out, he took me to go see those, and then obviously introduced me to the rest of the films. We'd play the games, Battlefront, Knights of the Old Republic, Rogue Leader. Oh, if you've never played Rogue Leader on GameCube. The point I'm trying to make is we both love Star Wars. Now, he's a very busy guy. He doesn't always get the chance to watch things as soon as they come out. So, when I told him that I'd watched it, he asked me, how was it? What's it like? And I had to tell him, don't watch it. Just don't bother. As a Star Wars fan, you're better off without this show. And if there are any Star Wars fans watching this who haven't seen Obi-Wan yet and you're considering whether to or not, don't bother, dude. Honestly, don't bother. Just go watch Visions. Go watch a few episodes of Clone Wars, but don't bother with this. You might not agree with my conclusion about the show being incredibly disappointing, but one thing you can't deny is just how forgettable this show is. I mean, this is one of the saddest aspects about it. This is Darth Vader, Obi-Wan, and yeah, sure, Leia as well, but this is Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, and no one cares. No one cares. Like, since the finale aired, I've not heard a single word about this. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi. This should be a classic, right? Right? I'm like a parent. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. Now, I know there's aspects of this show that I've not covered, but I didn't want to reiterate points that have been made by lots of other people too much. I wanted to try and cover slightly different things about this show, but what did you think? Do you agree with my feelings about the show? Maybe you disagree. Maybe you loved it. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, because believe it or not, when I criticize these shows, I don't sit here thinking, I hope no one enjoyed. No, I wanted to enjoy the show. And if you enjoyed it, fantastic. I want other people to enjoy things. But also, if I get let down by something like this, I'm going to have something to say about it. But like I say, maybe you agree, maybe you don't. But let me know down in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe, you sexy bitches. And I'll be sure to see you in the next video that will be coming very soon, so make sure you stick around for that. And as always, a big shout out to the top tier members, Pozamon and Flunky. And now Brennus is joining the top tier, so welcome to the tippity top.
Yo, tier 2s, I'm so sorry, I forgot to read your names out. Steve the Goat, Dr. Melsky, Saeed, MG Virgil, Kuno Sacco, and Mark Maidens. I'm sorry, guys, do I look like Jesus right now? I look like I've got a bit of a... yeah, sorry about that, guys.
And of course, a huge thanks to all the tier 1 members and the channel members as well. Thank you so much. I don't know if you guys realize just how much you do help me by supporting me this way. Like, just within the last month, I've been able to turn down some of my freelance jobs to focus on videos because of the support you guys have showed me. So thank you very much. I mean, I really can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you. And there we go, another video. Hopefully you can join me for the next one, but until then, make sure you take care of yourselves, guys, and I'll see you very soon.